It's the so every year Cambridge University has science festival. So all the museums and stuff that no one really knows about
Sucheta, we're just testing
that are full
video
of
and audio. If you
really
could,
cool.
please turn your camera
They
on.
all open up and like have special events on, so people who might not know about them suddenly know about them, which is good.
And just testing audio.
And but this year, obviously, because of the pandemic, they've decided to just sort of like do the Cambridge Festival. So they've got like I streamed quite a few earlier. Did one that might be interesting to you, which was about zero carbon energy.
Sucheta, enable your audio, please.
Biophotovoltaics.
Testing
But
sound.
yeah, there's like loads of other stuff, man. There's like engineering,
Sucheta, can you
science,
say something?
fucking poetry, and all sorts of stuff.
Yep, okay, it's working. That's fine.
Yeah.
If you'd like to put up the
Yeah, well, you
holding
also be
slide in
probably linked
exactly 2
directly
minutes.
to your like
Kathy, testing
degrees and what
audio and
have you.
video, please.
This is more
Hi there,
like the
everyone.
colleges
I can't start my
themselves
video. You've blocked me,
interacting with the
Shimon,
public.
according to this.
So
But this is definitely the
Sarah, if you
worst
could,
organised
this
one
is a Cambridge University
so
account,
far.
so it's a different
Yeah, that's been done,
admin. So
Shimon.
yeah. So Kathy, if you try again. Excellent. So
Kathy's
the way
here.
this is set up, we don't have a waiting room. So early attendees are already
Watching.
online. So I'm just going to say to anyone who's waiting that we're starting at 6 p.m. UK time. So do bear with us as we do video and audio checks. Marla, just testing audio and video.
Hello. Yep. I have one issue is that I gave some packs to some people yesterday and they couldn't sign up and they can't seem to use the webinar information that I gave them. Is there another way they should be? Yeah,
it kind of feels like that. This is okay. Actually, they've got a hackathon at the moment.
Sarah,
do you do any programming in
generic?
It was
in Python?
It was a little clunky because I came in
or
through
Perl.
the
I think
Eventbrite
Python
thing,
actually.
and it is a bit clunky. You have
yeah,
to scroll.
no, because they're not using they got the packs too late.
But there's
to
like
sign
a
up
hackathon.
so they can't get the link. So I just gave them mine and it didn't work.
Yeah, it's a bit clunky, I think.
So you can sign up for some of these.
I will just
some of the projects
send the link
there.
to you privately, Marla.
Yeah, I'm just doing that by WhatsApp.
I did that one earlier as well.
Okay, perfect. That's perfect.
Okay. But basically, they're like all day, every day for
all right, I'm gonna move
a couple
to
of
my kitchen.
weeks. They basically do these.
Okay. So
it's developing stuff. The hackathon stuff is for the COVID genome sequencing.
Holding slide,
so actually, quite interesting and frighteningly relevant right now.
Cameras and audio off, and we will wait till 6 o'clock.
Yep. I'm waiting. Really want to but this is about, I don't know, some fucking project that they've been running where they set up like there you go. That's what we want.
And Suchetha, just as a reminder to click on the share sound.
I can scan the thing there.
Okay, great. So we've got a few minutes recess and we'll be back live at 6.
I'll just quickly check if it's share sound.
But yeah, just let the cookies happen.
if you just want to put that in slide presenter view. Perfect.
Jokers. Fucking because they don't listen, don't they? You'd be surprised. Like, most people very struggle to listen, even at the best of times. We rarely listen to the information we don't want to hear. So you're like super into engineering. Like the conversations that we've had tell me that you are really into it, because it's the one subject, all the other subjects that you ever talk about, no offense, but you drift, you know. It's like you can't be asked to really talk about them half the time, even about yourself and whatever. But engineering, you actually get excited about, and you talk about it in an excited way, which means you almost certainly listen in class. And half your fucking mates in class will be like not listening because they're losing their nose because they're doing a degree in their uni, and you know.
Very warm welcome, everyone. Please bear with us as the last few participants are joining. We will be starting very shortly.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing would be is I'm guessing that you're probably the oldest in the class, because most people would have probably gone on to do their degree with you, like within days of, you know, finishing their A levels, what have you. So they will turn to you because it's easier.
Greetings, everyone, once again. We will now begin. So if I may request the next slide.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then that's a bit worrying.
going to call upon my colleague from the Tigris team at Cambridge University, Sarah Bailey, to welcome us and all of you to this program tonight and talk through some of the logistics. Over to Sarah.
Could do with shit like this here, I think.
So yes, welcome everybody to this Mobile Teaching Kitchen demo cook along at home event. My name's Sarah Bailey and I work on the Tigris program, as Shimon said.
Just teaching at home. This is like what I could be cooking.
Housekeeping, and then I'll do a little bit of introduction about the Tigris program. So as you have noted, if you've seen in the chat, this event is being recorded. This is because we are hoping to be able to share a recorded version with people.
Well, that is worrying because they should fucking know.
There is a Q&A function. So if you have any questions during the cook-along or for the panel discussion at the end, please do use the Q&A function rather than the chat. That means we can reply directly to you in writing as well if you have an emergency mid-cook. There will be a prize draw this evening, so you will find out in a minute or two that this is part of a launch of an e-recipe book that has been developed for the Mobile Teaching Kitchen. And at the end, we're going to be doing a little prize draw to give away 3 copies. If you want to be involved in that prize draw, I will be putting a Google Sheet link in the chat shortly. Please do put your name in there. You don't need to put your email address, but you do need to indicate yes if you are happy for us to contact you afterwards, because we need to email the link to you.
That's good.
And then finally, on housekeeping, if you are on social media, please do feel free to share photos of you cooking along, of your finished meals once you're done. We'll be using the hashtag MTKCook. If you're on Twitter, you can also tag NedPro or Tigris or Cambridge. So please.
I mean, none of them know that.
So just a quick.
I'm just streaming everything that I go to.
NedPro. So Tigris is a Global Challenges Research Fund program working to achieve sustainable food and water systems in India. We work across
that's good.
wide range of
that is good. That will help you. Although I bet you a tenner you've barely used it.
We have over 90 members on the program and over 20 different collaborators across India and the UK.
She was kicking off.
You can see here that we work under 6 flagship
what I would call kicking
off.
off.
We have a variety of subjects ranging from sustainable and transformative agrarian and rural trajectories, which is policy to the rest of us.
The surname
sciences,
and this name.
resilience,
Austrian maybe? German?
Management in the changing climate and supply chains and sustainable livelihoods. We've got archaeologists, we've got engineers, we've got plant scientists, and we've also got health and nutrition experts, which is where tonight's event fits in. And that's the flagship project number 6 at the bottom there, impacting well-being in rural and urban communities. This is all about education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. So I will now hand over to Sucheta from NedPro, and she will talk you through a bit more about the Mobile Teaching Kitchen.
Yeah. Well, this is a cooking.
Thank you, Sarah.
I didn't realise this was a cooking.
A very good afternoon and good evening to all of you. I'm Sucheta Mitra. I'm representing the NedPro Global Center for Nutrition and Health. We are an international and interdisciplinary think tank, training academy, and research network engaged in education, research, and implementation. We are headquartered in Cambridge, but working without borders globally and in UK across 12 regional networks spanning 6 continents. One of our most active regional networks is in India, where we are working with our Tigris Cambridge colleagues for the past few years. Today we are here to launch the NedPro Cookbook,
do you like a curry?
Which has been inspired by our flagship program, the Mobile Teaching Kitchen Initiative. But before we go to the launch, we would like to actually show you what this Mobile Teaching Kitchen is all about.
Get your name in the spreadsheet.
This recipe book, the cookbook, is available to purchase after the event. All the proceedings from the e-copies will be going towards the women and marginalized communities in Kolkata, India. So please do support us in this initiative by purchasing a copy and also supporting us in the crowdfunding campaign. At the outset, I would like to acknowledge my 5 NedPro colleagues who will be joining us in the project, in the program today. I would also like to thank my colleague Matthias
housemate, my neighbour,
for the digital support.
It's the Hannah Jackson.
Thank you, Sarah and Marla from Tigris. for hosting this event in the Cambridge Festival. Thank you all, NetPro colleagues, collaborators, partners, and funders supporting the MTK initiative, and of course, all the women and mothers who are the real MTK champions from India, all of whom has enabled this cook launch possible today. And of course, last but not the least, special thanks to Nikita for the first mobile unit blueprint and Dr. Minha Rajputre for the startup funding. The Mobile Teaching Kitchen project was launched in 2017 as a nutrition education tool to improve diet and health outcomes in underserved and marginalized communities. It serves as a community hub for nutrition and health screening and prevention and other health disease prevention. It's also empowering some of the marginalized communities and women to sell healthy food, but also deliver nutrition education to customers in a micro enterprise model. If you want to learn more about the concept and how this is actually working in practice, I would really urge you all to watch this very short video, which will walk you through the entire process, how it was launched to actually overcome the prevalent issue of malnutrition, which still exists in many parts of India. Now, the entire model is actually based on the See One, Do One, Teach One methodology, whereby qualified dietitians and nutritionists, along with public health professionals, they provide training to the volunteers, who in turn, they provide training to all the women from the marginalized communities in order to prepare meals which are nutritious, low cost, as well as locally produced and locally available. These women have therefore spread the nutrition knowledge and education to their communities and also the wider public.
Yeah, I get that, man.
You can see a picture of the mobile teaching kitchen van and also a dish, which is from the cookbook.
Pakora, naan.
Through this image, you can see this was the beginning of 2018 when the education was provided from all the dietitians and nutritionists, along with our NetPro key colleagues who went across to provide the training to all the women in the communities in some of the urban slums in Kolkata. They are not only preparing the meals, but also providing the education to all other members of the community.
Grey.
You can also see from that humble beginning, we have now been able to train 8 champions who are able to provide some of the nutritious meal, balanced diet to not only the urban slums in Kolkata, but also through the micro-enterprise model to all the echelons of the society.
It's not appropriate.
I would now like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Luke Buckner, who is the Assistant Director of NetPro Global Center, but also the project lead of Mobile Teaching Kitchen Initiative.
I'm a horrible human being.
Hello everyone, my name's Luke Buckner and I'm just going to quickly run you through how you can purchase this book. So luckily you're some of the first people that have access to this. We've been working for a number of months now to compile all the experience of the Mobile Teaching Kitchen into a recipe book. And alongside this provide all the learning points we have had, not just only the food. So if you approach the page for the first time, you'll get this bar here, and clicking through you can log in and put your payment details in and buy. What you'll then be presented with is a virtual learning environment so that you can continue to come back, have it on an iPad or tablet, maybe on your mobile phone when you're cooking. And the book will come up, this is the bottom, sorry, it will come up looking like this. You can scroll through and see that our champions are kept as a centerpiece of this throughout, and get to the contents page where you can actually then interactively go to the Bhavisya Shakti special, for instance, and see that this one contains 4 dishes in the template menu. You can scroll through the ingredients and methods for each one, and obviously balance these cooking together, which we've provided some tips on.
You still get ads even though you paid for the extra. Definitely no ads system.
As well as some further information. After the 15 menus have been explored, you may also want to have a read about some of the further information we provide, including on food safety and hygiene and its importance.
I sometimes don't get ads.
Health,
sometimes I do.
The impacts they have on your body.
I don't know whether that's because I'm a streamer.
Different methods of cooking, and then sustainability lastly. And we've got references throughout if you want to read even further about these things.
Oh, it's just not bad.
We've also got endorsements from Shivali Bama, who is a well-known actor and singer, and our intercultural ambassador at NEDPRO, and our two honorary presidents, Lord Richard Balfe and Lord Digit Rana, providing their opinions on why this is such an important endeavour. We really hope you enjoy it, and it will be continually updated, and alongside this we will have videos added, including those from this evening, and other resources we think you might want to have a look at. So we hope you're getting good value for your money for £9, and also knowing that you're supporting some really honourable causes out in Kolkata. Thank you.
You can scan that with your finger.
I would now like to call upon Sarah to make some announcements.
Thanks, Sucheta. Yes, so I got my announcements in completely the wrong order earlier. I wasn't supposed to mention the prize draw until now, but I'll just plug it again. So as you just heard from Luke, the full recipe book will be available to buy online for £9. But if you fancy a chance of winning one of 3 copies, please do put your name in the Google Sheet, which I shared earlier in the chat. And Luke has also reminded me in the chat that we're going to be doing a best photo competition on social media. So again, as mentioned earlier, if you want to tag us, #MTKCook on Twitter, and we'll have a look at all your photos, and one lucky winner will get a copy of the cookbook from there too.
That one. But maybe get a free copy if you do.
I would now like to introduce Professor Shimon Ray, the Executive Director of NEDPRO Global Center, and also the co-founder of the Mobile
Sarah needs to spend a fucking £9 on some de-stress pills, I can assure you.
Thank you very much, Sucheta. Thank you to the Tigris Programme and Cambridge University for this opportunity. And thank you to other co-founders of the Mobile Teaching Kitchen and countless individuals who over the years have made this work possible. But today we're going to be joined by 4 individuals.
Really? Does it look horrible to you?
Possibly our 4 musketeers for this event. So Executive Chef Yaroslav Guzanik, who is based in Switzerland. And what Yaroslav has done is to take 3 of the recipes from the Mobile Teaching Kitchen cookbook and convert them into very doable, demonstratable formats, which he's going to talk to us about in the cook-along. And with Yaroslav, what we've done is set a challenge to 3 of our own colleagues to cook along with him. So we have Luke Buckner, who is a medical doctor, also trained in nutrition, and as you heard, has been instrumental in this Mobile Teaching Kitchen initiative, along with many others. So Luke is going to try out the millet upma along with Yaroslav. So you'll see Yaroslav cooking first, and then Luke following, and see how they both get on together. You'll then actually see a similar duo, but this time with a main course of Indian pancake and mixed vegetables. And joining Yaroslav for that is Dr. Kathy Martin, who is both a registered nurse as well as a registered nutritionist and postdoctoral scientist. And we have then registered dietitian Elaine McInich, who will keep up with Yaroslav in preparing the spinach cutlet with a green chutney. What we hope is that through these demonstrations, we will see not only a gold standard demo from an executive chef, but also how these are prepared in 3 typical UK kitchens. And of course, if you want to learn more about how you can support the project, please do visit the QR code. So I think we will now see how they got on. So just as we are preparing to watch what they did a few days earlier, I'm going to ask all of them to turn their cameras on and give us a wave. So there we have Luke, Kathy, Yaroslav, and Elaine, all waving and ready to watch what they did earlier. All of them will join us for a panel discussion afterwards. And here goes.
Hello everyone, my name is Jaroslav Guzanic and I'm an executive chef based in Switzerland. It's my pleasure to have received this great invitation from the NetPro Global Center for Nutrition and Public Health to cook along these fantastic Indian recipes. A special thanks and acknowledgement goes to all the respected members of the India Network and all the collaborators of the Mobile Teaching Kitchen who have worked together to compose such a wonderful collection of Indian recipes for the Mobile Teaching Kitchen. Today, I'm going to show you how to cook some of the best recipes, some of the typical signature dishes of the Indian cuisine, including a simple pancake with a green chutney and a mixed vegetables, and also cooking a millet upma, which is a wonderful meal. This morning, I went to the market to buy some of the freshest ingredients for my 3 recipes that I'm going to be cooking, and I'm going to show you how to make them in our kitchen. So I bought some pumpkin, green chilies, root vegetables, including also sweet potatoes, so lettuce, garlic, green beans, grains, and also chickpeas that I've been soaking this since the morning, and some of the typical flavors and typical Indian ingredients like a ground cinnamon, cardamom, cashew nuts, coriander, cumin seeds, and turmeric. So the first recipe we're going to cook today is called millet upma. And this is made of millet, which I've actually pre-soaked last night. Just make sure that if you want to cook millet or any other grains, just make sure to have some time for the prep work, especially for soaking the grains. The best option would be to pre-soak the grains at least one night ahead of cooking, or if you are unable to do this, you can feel free to soak the grains at least 3 or 4 hours before cooking, and make sure to cook all the grains in the pressure cooker.
The millet upma can be made at home in about 20 to 25 minutes. You need to soak millet and soya overnight, and if you're unable to do that, soak for about 3 hours or as long as possible. Boil the millet, set the soya aside, and whilst the millet boils, chop onion, carrot, beans, and green chili if you will. Boil the carrot and beans, heat oil in a pan over high heat, add a few mustard seeds, curry leaves, and let these pop. After this, we add the boiled vegetables, the onion, the green chili, and then mix with the boiled millet, soya seed, a bit of salt, and mix really well. And we cook all of this at a relatively low heat for about 10 minutes, and a squeeze of lemon juice before serving. Perfect as part of a light yet satisfying meal or a snack.
So we're going to be cooking the millet upma. My name's Luke, and this is my girlfriend Molly.
Hello.
And so we're going to get started with the millet grain, which we've been soaking overnight. So let's do that first up. So we had to buy the grain
my old housemate.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't find it in the local supermarkets, but it was easily available through the site. So we've got the ingredients here, the vegetables and the soybeans, spices and the rice bran oil. So we need to just prepare these and get started.
In our mobile teaching kitchen cookbook, the millet upma is served along with 3 other accompanying dishes which together form the Nutri-Treat, or indeed a nutritionally complete meal. But in this meal, it's the use of millet that's really novel and makes it extra nutritious. Millet is a type of grain. It's a fairly simple ingredient, quite like bulgur wheat or quinoa, but environmentally much more friendly. You could substitute millet with the likes of bulgur wheat if you can't obtain it, but really, in India, millet has largely been ignored over the years and is now undergoing a bit of a revival as a much less expensive yet very healthy grain. And this has the added benefit of being gluten-free, and certainly our mobile teaching kitchen champions have really enjoyed using this in their cooking, and they've managed to convey health messages to thousands of customers that they have served this millet dish. Once you start using it, you'll realize it can actually be added almost anywhere, and it's even become a focus for policymakers in India. So what is in the millet? One serving of millet upma is actually only about 320 calories or so. It has about 10 grams of fat, very little saturated fat, and it has a good quantity of slow release carbohydrate, and importantly also has a higher quantity of protein, about 13 grams in a serving, than other comparable grains. So millet really is a little bit of a hidden gem in the kitchen cupboard.
While the millet is cooking nicely, I'm going to blanch the chopped carrots and the green beans all together for just 3 minutes, just to tenderize them a little bit and cook them.
Oh, sorry, screaming and shouting in the hallway.
So we've chopped the beans and carrots, and they're now going to boil.
I won't mind, I'm streaming, I'm not screaming down the mic, you know what I mean?
We've also taken the time to prepare the other
Going,
ingredients whilst the millet was boiling.
middle class
That's
is
now
that.
done, so we're going to take that off the heat.
It's overcooked.
So the millet is cooked, and the vegetables is also poached, just a little bit of carrots and green beans and also the soya. And now heat the oil in a pan over a high heat. Just wait a second. And then add the mustard seeds, a few curry leaves,
you cook them until they start popping.
Pop to get a nice flavor.
You hear them? Ooh, when it pops. It's like I know. It's like I know stuff.
So now it's smelling.
Oh, it's like a bit of music for a second.
The vegetables now boiling in the saucepan. I'm just going to add the rice bran oil.
Oh, he's got special measuring
spoons. So we scaled this recipe up for 4.
It's not like you got spoons
today.
in your fucking drawer, is it?
We just need to add the spices. got mustard seeds and curry leaves. So just spreading the spices around in the oil, and then over a high heat ideally, and just waiting for it to pop. Just starting to get a few pops out, so then we'll do the next stage.
And add the onions and the green chili. And simply saute the ingredients.
Every so often
for
it
about
goes alright.
2 minutes. And then you can use any
lagging,
spices. I have some
but it's a recorded video
garam
and there's no
masala
problems with that every time.
and the typical Indian flavors just to cook it. But this is optional. You don't have to put so much ingredients or so much spices into it. And I also have some wonderful cashew nuts that you can also use to make the millet upma. And saute the ingredients for about 2 minutes. So just a little bit, few drops of rice bran oil, and now the main part.
So next, now that that's ready, we're adding the green chili and onion.
The pre-cooked vegetables, including the soya beans, carrots, and green beans. Just to combine this well, just for a few seconds. And in the meantime, I'm going to get my millet ready for this.
Things we've got now, some of the boiled vegetables as drained, so we need to just add that and stir for 2 minutes.
And now the cooked millet. So add about 1/2 what we have cooked. And we're gonna cook it at low temperature for the next 10 minutes to combine all these ingredients together in the form of a light paste, so that we can form it all together and create a nice blend.
Yeah, she's definitely a stressor.
For a few minutes frying that now. If we go well, and then
You've your naughty words. What can I do?
Okay, so we are ready to serve. So look at this, so nicely cooked, all combined, and all these flavors are just simply incredible. So I'm going to just put it in this bowl to form it nicely. Okay, so now just a very short trick. Whoops. So nice, perfect. And what I'm going to do is to add this freshly chopped spring onions, pour a few drops of lemon juice, which is going to enhance the flavor and make it so fresh, so refreshing. And the last thing I'm going to do is to mix. That's just small little jam, just to garnish it all. Add a little bit of lemon wedge and some fresh coriander into it. So this is the final, and now the most important part is to taste it and try what we have cooked. So I'm going to cut this through and all those flavors coming out. Perfect.
Okay, so we've now fried it for 10 minutes. Ended up something like this, which hopefully, once we form it up, will look a bit more like Jaroslav's. So, put some small bowls with them each.
Yeah. Perfect.
Came out well. I'll make this easy for me. Okay. Perfect. So this is our finished product, decorated by Molly, and just a big thank you to her for helping me out today, and I look forward to seeing you in the Q&A.
As next, I'm going to show you how to make a traditional Indian pancake served with mixed vegetables. So, what we are going to need? First of all, we're going to need the chickpea flour, about 50 grams, and then 50 grams of whole wheat flour. So I'm going to take equal portions of both flours that I've already prepared. I'm going to put them in the bigger bowl. Next, I'm going to add finely chopped green chilies, some carrots, so both about 10 grams, and about 5 or 10 grams of freshly chopped coriander. So, going to season it with a little salt, spices.
Sorry, Dan, I'm talking to like 10 different
And
people.
what's very important is to add about 25 grams of
millet. I mean, it's a grain, so it's like pearl millet and stuff. It's
spoon.
You've had couscous and what have you, haven't you?
Next, I'm going to add a little.
It's like couscous,
onions.
but it's a grain rather than. I mean, couscous is made from
And
wheat
a very
flour.
important part is to use a little bit of water.
But millet is like
nice
it's a grain of its
batter
own kind.
From which we are going
It's
to
actually really
form
nice.
the
You can have it in
pancakes.
soups and whatever, you know. It's the kind of thing
And
you might
fried
add
in a
a
pan.
little handful of millet into your soup. That adds a little. What the fuck is that? It looks horrible. I've been sick, and that literally is what it looked like. I'm hoping the end result is better than the visuals, but that's often the case with food.
So, whisk the batter for about the next 2 minutes until you get
pie,
this
you can tell
smooth consistency
from
of a
his
batter.
secondary chin. I know that's
And
hypocritical.
let's set the batter aside to combine
saying
all
it's
the
not.
ingredients together. In the meantime, we're
Got
going to
tits
make
like me.
mixed vegetables. So you can practically do and cook it from whatever you want, whatever you have in the fridge. But the main ingredients are potatoes. You can even use sweet potatoes, some spring onions, some aubergine, pumpkin. So I've already cut the vegetables just to save a little bit of time when making the pancake. And you can practically use any radishes, tomatoes, or even zucchinis. A little bit of turmeric powder, cumin seeds, and we can start with adding the chopped vegetables. So I have onions, pumpkin, also red onions, some cauliflower, and simply any seasonal vegetables
that humming that's in my head
You
because
can
my brain tries to
use
translate the blurs. Goes the moment I put that fucking noise. It's
so
amazing.
some pumpkin goes in,
No, I'm
and
crying.
also fresh aubergines. So just stir it for about 5 minutes.
Carrot, onion. Is it okra?
So I added a few drops of rice bran oil, and then the mixed vegetables, so you can use practically anything that you have in the fridge. Most importantly, some pumpkin, sweet potatoes, or just the regular ones, and any seasonal vegetables like cauliflower, for example, some Brussels sprouts, even soya beans, and simply whatever you like. So now I'm gonna make a full spoon of turmeric powder, some coriander, some cumin seeds, spices, and a little bit of
just get
salt.
cash. So you can get turmeric root. I know a place in Cambridge that does turmeric root. So that comes out, looks like little ginseng.
And I'm going to be stirring it
and it's
for another 5 minutes.
Stains everything, you know, like turmeric does.
As next, add a small
Delicious,
cup of water.
Like one of them things, you know, like fresh turmeric is different.
Cover and cook for about
Loads of
12
people
minutes.
drink it because it's meant to be preventative for cancer.
In the mobile teaching kitchen menu templates, the rainbow of colours associated with the mixed vegetables that are sautéed using seasonal produce that is local and easy to source suggests using a combination of cauliflower, beans, carrots, pumpkins, radish, brinjal or aubergine as it may be known, and potato, all in equal proportions, 25 grams of each, so making up about 175 grams. And all this needs, exceedingly simple, is a little bit, a teaspoonful of turmeric powder, a teaspoonful of coriander powder, and a teaspoonful of cumin seed. And these three spices together create some sauté magic. It's also recommended that we use a little pinch of salt, remembering the restrictions on total salt intake, and a little pinch of sugar, only a little one. And of course, modest quantities of oil, as you see in the demonstration, rice bran oil being quite a good one, being careful of not going over its smoking point. So heating the oil, therefore, over a medium heat, adding these beautifully chopped vegetables, freshly chopped, and then covering for about 10 minutes or so. Then adding in the spices and other seasoning just as the vegetables have begun to soften, and then mixing thoroughly, adding a little bit of water, and then covering and keeping on a low flame for about 7 minutes or so. It's really not a very long process, and the mixed vegetables are only about 130 calories, less than 7 grams of fat, very low in saturated fat, less than a gram, carbohydrates about 12 grams, protein about 5 grams, and equal amounts of fiber. So really, aside from that, all of these vegetables give us a range of micronutrients, so essential vitamins and minerals that our body needs for various aspects of normal function. And in addition to these micronutrients, we also, in all of these vegetables, have phytochemicals, So these are plant-based chemicals which actually undergo repackaging in our gut, and they are repackaged by healthy or helpful bacteria in the gut and transformed into active or bioactive substances that can be helpful for bodily function.
So let's get started with the pancake. We're going to brush the pan with an oil a little bit.
Or just put a little bit of oil in.
And
make sure
pour
you spread
in
it around.
the batter that we're going to form in a pancake. Okay. So cook about for around 3 minutes and then flip on the other side.
Is he using a metal spatula?
Cook around 2 or 3 minutes.
And this guy's a chef, is he? Wow.
There are probably as many versions of the pancake as there are countries in the world, but this particular pancake, part of the champion thali of the Mobile Teaching Kitchen, uses chickpea or Bengal gram flour, a little bit of whole wheat, though that is optional. One can use mainly Bengal gram, some curd or natural yogurt, a bit of carrot, green chili if you like it, coriander leaves, some onion and rice bran oil. So equal portions of the gram and wheat flour are usually mixed well. The chopped vegetables are added in. The yogurt is folded in to make a batter. And then really it's thinned down a little bit with a bit of water, a pinch of salt. A pan is heated on high heat, but just brushed with a little bit of oil. The batter's poured in, spread, and lo behold, very soon we have a pancake. A couple of these pancakes are 550 calories, very low in saturated fat, but surprisingly high in protein and fiber. Wonderful.
Now we're ready to serve. So let's make a nice fluffy pancake. It's nice and crispy, made of healthy flours. Now I'm going to add a little bit of mixed vegetables, so you can make it as a pancake and serve the vegetables nicely over it, or you can even make it as a wrap and wrap it in a pancake and finalize with a little bit of yogurt on the top. And sprinkle some fresh parsley or coriander or whatever you like.
So the Champions Thali, which has the special pancake that we've seen being made so elegantly by an executive chef, but also by a nurse's kitchen, combined with the wonderful rainbow of colours in seasonal vegetables, together is the core platter of food that was actually part of the very first menu that the Mobile Teaching Kitchen champions got stuck into and actually served in their own homes and communities when they were getting started, which of course started the conversations around how to eat good healthy food on a budget.
Pancake with vegetables.
In the next recipe, I'm going to make something good from spinach. So all the spinach lovers are going to enjoy this recipe very much. So I'm going to make spinach cutlets served with green chutney.
So I'm going to be making the lentil cutlets and the green chutney. I'm a little bit delayed because I didn't realise that you had to soak the lentils overnight. So these lentils have been soaked and I've just blended them so they're kind of like a smooth paste.
So let's start with the chutney first. So let's take about 50 grams of fresh coriander, about 1 green chili, a few leaves and a few mint leaves, so it's also like 50 grams. So let's put it all in there. You can also taste it with a little bit of lime juice, so add 1 more garlic clove and a little bit of rice oil. So we'll now put all the ingredients into the blender and mix well. Once you get a smooth paste, you can taste it with a few drops of lime, a pinch of salt, and a little bit of sugar, just to balance the final taste. If you like it a little bit more sour, you can still add a few more drops of lime juice. Nice.
I'm just going to make a quick chutney. So hopefully this isn't too difficult. I'm just going to use a whole pack of mint, a whole pack of coriander. I'm going to put a whole chili in there. Actually, I'm going to put 2 in there because I haven't got any spice in the cutlets. Garlic. And some lime. I think it also asks for 1 teaspoon of lime, but I like lime, so I'm going to put in a whole one.
Yeah, you do that. You don't follow the recipe. And
Whiz it up, and I think that's ready. Right.
We all know that getting greens onto the plate can sometimes be a little bit tricky, but the spinach cutlet is a great alternative, or I should say lentil and spinach cutlet. So about 10 grams of lentil, 10 grams of rice flour, and 100 grams of spinach, a bit of garlic, onion, green chili if you want it, a touch of salt and rice bran oil. Soak the lentils overnight, add rice flour to the paste, mix everything in, including the chopped spinach, shape into flat cutlets, and pan fry.
I'm so sorry.
Shallow frying the cutlet on medium heat and turning over till it is slightly brown but still firm. So a couple of these spinach cutlets is only 140 calories. Low glycemic index with protein, fiber, and packed with a range of vitamins and minerals.
There we go.
Let's make the spinach cutlets. So first of all, you have to soak the lentils overnight or pre-cook them, and after that you need to grind them and create in a paste. Now let's take about 10 grams of rice flour, some green onions and chopped green chili, and add the chopped spinach leaves. Just to give you a tip, you can also chop the spinach and saute it with a little bit of onions and then add to the dough mixture. So what I'm going to do now is to put some water inside the dough. I'm going to use spices and salt. And simply try to create the spinach cutlets, the spinach patties. If you think it's just too thick, you can still add a little bit of more water in.
So yeah, our kitchen's like half with all the walls come off. We're in the middle of getting a new kitchen, hopefully someday soon. Okay, lentils. And I've got some rice flour. It took me a while to find this, but there you go, it's quite teeny. Yeah, but I guess it would probably be all right with normal flour, but I managed to find this, so I'll try it with the rice flour. It's roughly about the same amount of flour to lentils. I'm just going to chuck it in there.
All of the pre-recorded stuff from the university sound like
what else do
bad
I need?
delays on the
onions. So in the recipe, it didn't ask you to fry them, but I decided to fry the onions because onions and garlic. So that's one onion and 2 cloves of garlic. Spinach. And we are there. I think I just need a little bit of water. Right, see if this comes together. I think the recipe asks you to use 10 grams of lentils, 10 grams of flour, and 100 grams of spinach. But I've done quite a bit more than that because I didn't think that would hold it all together. It's looking better. So yeah, I'm improvising a little bit.
We'll finally shape the prepared dough mixture and shape a flat patties or spinach cutlets. So feel free to use a little bit of extra rice flour so that it just doesn't get sticky, and form these flat patties like that. In the meantime, preheat the oil and shallow fry for a few minutes from both sides.
So here we go. I've got that on a low heat. I was actually able to find some rice bran oil from the shop, and I hadn't really heard of it before, so I was quite surprised to find that. So here we go. And apparently it has a really high smoking point, so I've just put a little bit of oil in there to get it going. I hope this works.
So having made delicious green cutlets, how about a green chutney? So mint, coriander leaves, about 50 grams of broth, garlic, a little bit of green chili, lime juice, a pinch of salt and a pinch of sugar. All blended together except for the lime juice, which is added later with a bit of water. Very few calories, a bit of protein and fibre, and plenty of vitamin C. Sweet, savoury, tangy and refreshing.
I didn't add the green chili into here because I'm going to try and tempt my kids with it. But if you like it spicy, as I normally do, you could add a green chili in there. Seems to be browning up quite nicely.
So fry the spinach cutlets until golden, and let's plate. Thank you very much for your attention, and back over to Professor Ray and the Nanette Pro team, as well as to Kathy, Elaine, and Luke. Good luck with cooking and enjoy.
I've had the cutlets made, but they're actually quite nice.
Ta-da!
If they're made properly.
There is my lentil cutlet and green chutney.
I wouldn't have that from her. Not at all. Yeah. Yep. Says it all.
So bravo indeed to Yaroslav, Luke, Kathy, and Elaine for orchestrating that amazing cook-along. So hopefully all of you managed to do some cooking along, listening along, and a bit of watching. Apologies for any transmission difficulties, but hopefully as you were all cooking, you were doing more listening and perhaps less looking. So it's my great pleasure now to invite all of our chefing innovators today to be part of the panel. And you've heard from all of them before. I'd also now like to introduce Marla Fuchs, who has been cooking along live in the background and not blue petering it like the rest of us. So hello, Marla, Sarah, Kathy, Yaroslav, Sucheta, and Luke. So I'd like to kick off by asking Sarah
if you're not getting the basics right and then you change it, you're going to get it even more wrong.
So we've had a few questions, but I think they've all been put in the chat and kind of talked about there. But one I wanted to pick up on was somebody asked what kind of millet, and Luke replied and said pearl millet would be preferable. For anybody who collected the pack, I think I managed to source foxtail millet. But I wondered if you could maybe elaborate a little bit and talk a bit about different types of millets, because it might be a good time to plug it.
Sure, there are lots of different types of millets. There's pearl millet, proso millet, and in fact, from a practical point of view, some of the millets require a little bit more pre-prep than others. Some of them might require more soaking, more parboiling, but really from a nutritional perspective, all of the different types of millet are much richer in key nutrients than many of their cousin grains that we consume more frequently. So really, it's about which type of millet is most easily available to you. There is also the question of seasonality in some places, but I think that pearl millets is really one that would be recommended. So moving from there, if I could go next to Yaroslav and ask for some top tips from the experience of having adapted all of these template menus and recipes, but doing so for a Western European kitchen. What are some of the things that people can do differently or substitute, but not lose any of the value and taste of the dishes?
That's annoying. Won't let me zoom in.
Yaroslav, if you want to put your microphone on.
I'm very sorry about it.
There we go.
Now you can hear me all. Thanks a lot, Professor. And good evening, everyone, and greetings from Switzerland. In many Western countries, Indian food has been increasingly sought, and many ingredients are like many Indian ingredients, including spices, condiments, and grains, are already available. However, due to some cultural adaptations and preferences, the final result in texture or taste may slightly be different. That's very common, like by cooking the millet, for example. But based on my experience, most of the concerns and questions go around grains, especially how long to cook them and what culinary method to use. So there are quite many options to replace some grains, And that's, for example, with quinoa or bulgur, for example, or even with couscous. In the Western European countries, there are also special sorts of barley, grits, and millet, which had been used many years ago, and they are now considered also as forgotten ingredients. So thanks to the increased popularity and presence of Indian cuisine, we now have an appropriate time and opportunity to re-explore these grains and get a little bit of more training and to better personalize them, keep their authenticity of the recipes, and also healthifying them, even using the mentioned grains like quinoa, bulgur, or even couscous.
Thank you, Yaroslav. That's really helpful to know. I'm sure people will take confidence from that in being a little bit more adaptive and creative in how they apply the recipes. Marla, so you've been bravely cooking along, I believe, with everyone else and not blue petering it as many of us have done. How was your experience?
Well, it smells amazing. I haven't tasted it yet. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm using headphones, so you might not hear the children. Yeah, no, it smells amazing, and there's smells that I don't have in my kitchen ordinarily, so that's been really great. I was really slow because I didn't peel and chop everything to begin with, so I've only made the first upma. So we'll be eating that after I get off the call. So it's been great. I really enjoyed it, and I will go back and do the rest of them. In fact, I may employ my husband who's better at cooking.
And the interesting thing about the upma, which actually happens to be an adaptation of one of my mother's recipes, is that it can be eaten as a snack or as a main course. You can actually put into it whatever you like. And so it can be a complete meal in itself, or just a healthy source of slow release energy as a snack to keep you going between those longer intervals. So enjoy your millet in whatever form you're going to have it tonight.
Thank you.
So Luke, first up in the kind of Three Musketeers sequence. So having been out to India and having actually seen everything being done on site and then reproducing that in a UK kitchen, what was that like for you? I noticed perhaps some slight differences between the millet cooking that Yaroslav showed us and anything that you'd like to share about perhaps things to even avoid.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Shimon. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time. It was great sort of cooking with millet. It's the first time I've used it. And yeah, new ingredient. I'd heard a lot about it through the MTK over the years. I think I'd probably have tried a little bit, but as sort of a tester out in India. But we had traditionally cooked in Kolkata the first menu, which was the pancakes and spinach cutlets, which Kathy and Elaine. So I was testing new waters for myself, really. Really good flavors, and I'm sure Marla's going to enjoy hers shortly. I think my issue is probably how much water or how long I cooked the millet for. So I think there's always going to be clarification around that, and mine became a bit stodgy and less appealing than Yaroslav's looked. But there's room for practice, and that's why you can get hold of the cookbook and keep doing it every weekend or something. So yeah, really enjoyed it, and I hope you all did as well.
Definitely more gourmet than what I've done, which is inadvertently make a porridge from it, but certainly very well presented. So moving on to next in sequence, Kathy, I noticed you having great fun with your grandson, I think it was, in your kind of big, airy, well-lit kitchen. So what was your experience like?
I think the second one is great. It's a great thing with kids, actually. I mean, just having a small person around chopping vegetables. What it did being the Irish stuff is I had to keep the vegetables quite chunky because I didn't have any sharp knives out. So, but hey, that's the fun of cooking, isn't it? With children, is that you want to encourage them to cook. And a lot of vegetables did get consumed along the way, which was good. That's exactly part and parcel of it. So it made a good family thing to go, and we've got quite a large family. So it did mean that we all were able to have the pancakes and lots of vegetables for our lunch that day. So it was great fun. And I would definitely recommend doing it with children. Just put the knives away.
And do you think it's actually quite sort of clever that the pancake can have hidden vegetables in it? So even if someone then opts to have the pancake without the vegetables, you're still getting some veg into the system.
Yeah, it is. I always like this idea of hiding vegetables. I have to be honest, I've been a great vegetable hider, but I'm increasingly just allowing children just to taste things. I've been really surprised by, I don't make a fuss of it, kids seem to eat the vegetables better. So I do a lot of work, as you know, in primary schools, and I used to hide vegetables, and now I seem to have stopped hiding them, and we just seem to be eating a lot more vegetables. But I do like the fact that pancakes do have a bit of hidden veg, you know, a little bit hidden.
So great opportunity for veg to really come out. Fantastic. So moving on to Elaine, and I noticed you did some pivoting there and picked up on something where there was a 0 missing. So after you tried your recipe, actually one of the ingredients had an extra 0 added to it. So full marks for picking that one up. In experimentation, what was your experience, Elaine?
Yeah, I found it really hard to find the rice brown owl. But yeah, that was, yeah, and I bunged it in a bit. That was really nice language I think I used there. But yeah, I loved it. It was really tasty, really easy to make, and yeah, even in my kitchen, which is now taken out. So it was half broken down at the time.
Oh, fantastic. And the most important question is, did your girls actually eat the greens in the form of the cutlets?
They did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they're quite good. They're quite good normally.
Fantastic. So I think you know, we've seen lots of different ways in which those items can be made, also with variation in the spice. So again, we don't have to make everything super spicy or put chili in it. But before going to the final panelist and talking about spice, just a quick circle back to Sarah for one of the questions that's come up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simone. So we've had a question through, which is very topical. So, as you said, grains and lentils are very common in Indian diets. In the UK, when lockdown came around, so we're thinking back to this time last year, it was dried pasta, and I think I also remember rice as well, that went out of stock in supermarkets. What do you think we can do in the UK to encourage more whole food cooking with lentils, grains, and pulses? It's a great question.
So there are lots of different food swaps that we can employ. And at the beginning of the pandemic, actually our group put out a 10-point guide to eating well. And what that does is identify commonly available foods with lots of different equivalent foods that you can swap between. So you don't necessarily have to up your kind of grains and pulses to the same level as other diets, as long as you are actually having the right sort of balance of ingredients. And for healthy free living individuals in the UK, we simply follow the Eat Well guide, which has a number of different alternatives in the healthy carbohydrate section that can tell you what to swap and where you can actually bring other types of foods in alongside grains and pulses. Perhaps my colleagues would like to add something there, particularly Elaine.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. I think if we were able to increase beans and lentils, or the fiber that would increase, and also it's a really good sustainable source of protein as well. So I think some people are just scared of beans and pulses, because you have to soak them, and I think people even using tin varieties are a bit nervous. So I think maybe we just need to help people with a few ideas of how to do that practically and easily, and that might help.
And just to say that tin produce retains nutrients and actually is just as good to use. We don't necessarily signpost people to having processed foods, but of course, particularly where availability is scarce, seasonality is a problem. That's something to consider. And Kathy's put a helpful comment in to also think about pearl barley as an alternative. In the interest of time, I'm going to move us on and circle back to spices. So I remember, Suchetha, you telling us that although you live in Geneva, you use a combination of garam masala in your cooking, if not every day, at least every week. So tell us a little bit more and top tips about spices and garam masala in particular.
So basically, like even I'm learning while I'm cooking. So in India, different regions have their own style of using garam masala or even spices. So the basic masala which I put is cumin seeds, mustard seeds, turmeric, salt, chilies, and that's it. But the garam masala, there are three main ingredients, which are, I think, clove, cardamom, and cinnamon. These three are the main ingredients of garam masala, but there's another list which accompanies, like nutmeg, bay leaves. But if you want to make your food more rich, such as biryani and other mutton curry or other chicken curry, then you should definitely put these three spices. Yeah.
Thank you, Suchetha. And here, of course, we're promoting a plant-based diet, so it's vegetable biryani all the way. And Luke's put an important point in the chat about fiber in the diet, as well as looking at alternative sources of protein rather than relying on meat protein. So I think that rounds up our panel discussion. And I'm just going to hand over to Luke again for a moment before I give some thanks and Sarah has some exciting announcements.
Yeah, thank you everyone. I hope you've really enjoyed cooking along with us today, and I appreciate it may have been quite tight for time due to the availability we had, but I hope you were prepared. So just to wrap up from my end, big thank you from the project for supporting it by your attendance tonight. We have 2 QR codes down the bottom left there that you can access to support through the Just Giving, and also to buy the cookbook, which obviously is the main purpose of tonight. So hopefully some of you will be doing that.
I mean, that's the thing about Cambridge, is you'll discover that a lot of people
of the project and the beneficiaries in marginalised communities of Kolkata.
So
lastly,
Nat,
one thing we always do to evaluate and make sure our work is still having impact is collect data.
Her first degree is in
so
IT and her second
if you
one's in
get a
project
questionnaire
management,
coming through the post or by email
reasonably similar
in the near future,
but then
really
a third degree
appreciate it
is
if you could take the time just to fill that out honestly about how you found this evening and what you think of the project. Thank you, everyone.
Stuff.
Thank you. And just leaves me to say that I'd like to give huge thanks to not only all of the funders and stakeholders who've made this possible. So you've heard about the role of the Global Challenges Research Fund, UK Research and Innovation, and an earlier package of support from the ESRC, but also a number of grants and support from the BMA, the BDA, and GODAN. And support in huge proportions in kinds from the Remedy Clinic Study Group and the Inner Wheel Club of Greater Calcutta, and countless volunteers that will take me most of the night to name. But I will point out that the compilation of this cookbook has been led by Luke Buckner, with technical support from Sanchita Banerjee, from Debashish Chakraborty, Jorgen Johnson, Asim Manna, Elena Triguero, Matteo Abrantes, and the recipes are by Sudeshna Maitranag, who is a registered dietitian, and Chitra Ray, who also happens to be my mother. So huge thank you to all of these key contributors, and over to Sarah for our announcements.
Yeah, I mean, 8mm is incredible distance when you're dealing with accuracy of design.
So for all of you who decided you wanted to try and win a copy of the recipe book, I have a magical spinning wheel in front of me. So hopefully this should pick some names. So spin number
Jamie
1.
Crawford. Come on!
We have, that looks like it's, oh, We have Laura Carnesero. So
come on.
Congratulations, Laura.
That you were happy for us to contact you, so we'll be in touch with that. So number 2.
Come on, Jamie Crawford.
Good odds on this. I think everyone got busy chopping before.
Oh, you fucking! Did you see that?
It looks like.
Did you see that?
Danny.
Did you
well
see
done,
it lag?
Danny.
Did you see it lag past my name? This game, this is packed.
Hannah. Here we go, Hannah Jackson.
Hooray, Hannah.
So we will be using the email address that you used to sign up via Eventbrite, if you indicate that you're happy for us to do so. And then I think it's just down to me to close and do a couple bits more housekeeping. So as Luke mentioned, there will be a survey. It won't be coming in the post. It will be coming by email sometime tomorrow. It's just 10 short questions. So we'd be really grateful if you could fill that out. It's been compiled by the NEDPRO team and it is really valuable data gathering.
Like literally, that Hannah Jackson is my housemate, old housemate, who lives next door now.